Google today announced their new game streaming service, and it's got a killer feature, but there's also a lot we still don't know. What's up, everybody? Brad here, and today's the big day. Google pulled back the curtains on their new gaming service called Stadia. Now, love it or hate it or whatever, that name is a name. It's different. They've got the domain rights. They've got all the good stuff that you need. But I want to talk through a bunch of different things here because the keynote was packed. It was about an hour long, featured a lot of different things. And it's important to keep in mind that this was a game developer conference. This wasn't E3. This wasn't the be-all, end-all solution announcement for it. I suspect we'll have another keynote or something later where they demo more things and talk more about product-related announcements, hopefully, because we got a lot of unknown. But we do know what Google's killer feature is for all this stuff. So we're going to start by talking about what Google announced. So they talked about the hardware, and they put up this really ballsy slide. And it says, here's our hardware. It's a custom x86 processor, 2.7 gigahertz, 16 gigs of RAM. Our GPU is 10.7 teraflops. And the PS4 Pro is only 4.2 and the Xbox One X is only 6.0. We have a better console. Wow. Okay, Google. That's great. I'm very happy for you. But if your server rack was not more powerful than the $400 box behind me, I would have been concerned, not to mention how old the PlayStation 4 platform is and Xbox platform is at this point. So whatever, I guess that makes them happy that, they've got a larger number of teraflops. Good. They're going to have a better service. Now, granted, that's only in the cloud. That's not a console that you take home. So it's whatever. You can make do, but Google felt happy putting that up there. And they made some big claims. They said you can stream at up to 4K at 60 frames per second. And in the future, they're bringing 8K and all sorts of stuff. I mean, these are big announcements and they're showing off a lot here. And so those were kind of what they were talking about from the cloud hardware side. They also announced the controller, which we kind of knew was coming with two asymmetrical thumbsticks. The Google Assistant's built in, sharing is built in, and there's also that really fancy code on the back. You can take a look at it there. A little Easter egg from the Googles, if you will. The controllers look okay. I'm not in love. I'm not totally against them. They don't look like the most ergonomic things in the world, but they do look better than some of those early renders that people were making off of the patents. Something's a little off about them, but you don't need to use Google's controller to play with their cloud service. Now, keep in mind that this is fully cloud. There's no home console. It will work with things like Chromecast, your Chrome browser. It will work on your phone. It'll work anywhere that has a web browser, and especially anything that's Google owned. So keep that in mind. It's not all that surprising. One thing that was kind of interesting that they did announce is that they've been working with AMD on the GPU, and I'm assuming CPU as well, for their cloud service, which basically just means where's Intel? I mean, at this point, Microsoft uses AMD for their gaming stuff. PlayStation uses AMD. Now Google's using AMD. Intel is really... I don't understand why nobody ever goes Intel, but there's clearly a reason. Maybe it's price or something like that. But AMD is clearly dominating the game platform so much that their stock price spiked a little bit today. And so that's what we know for certain. And then they showed off a bunch of demos. And since I did a deep dive on, or kind of a deeper-ish dive on Microsoft's xCloud service, I want to show the footage that they showed on stage of somebody demoing Assassin's Creed running in Project Stadia. I keep calling it something else. But anyway, here's the clip. And as you can see, wait for it. Yeah. So you can see latency. Okay, so we can make the justification that Forza is just a really bad demo and it wasn't great playback, but we can at least see that that's actually how Forza played. On this demo, if you watch it again, I mean, look at this. When he presses the jump button, you can kind of see him sit there like waiting like, oh God, this didn't actually happen. And then he unplugs and kind of moves away real quick. It was not the best demo. It would not surprise me if that was canned playback. So that whatever, we won't ever know what actually happened with that. But yeah, so that is, that's what's that. Make your own assumptions at this point. Hopefully it was just a playback demo or something like that. Anyways, there's other things to keep in mind about playing games in the cloud, such as what Google is building out. And again, keep in mind that this conference was aimed at trying to attract developers to its platform. One of the unique things about playing in the cloud is you shouldn't have to worry about hacking if you think about it, because there's no real local assets to be tinkered with. So there should be no hacking, and it should be no piracy either for game developers, which is a good thing. But the killer feature that Google showed off today, and this is going to be the one thing that I think will get some money made in Google's platform and why it might actually stick around for more than just a flash in the pan, and it is YouTube. YouTube is absolutely Google's ace in the sleeve for this service, and specifically one demo where they were showing off Assassin's Creed. At the end of the video clip, there's a little button that says play. And what happens is you click that play button and you're instantly in that demo or whatever video you were just watching, you were instantly in that game, and they can do what we typically refer to as deep linking on a website or a video. They can deep link into the game and start you off right where that video was shown from. Now that is a really cool feature that is hard to argue that is not going to help Google significantly, because if EA or any of these companies is about to launch a game, they can put up the trailer for the game and then put a little button that says play. And what that does is it fires up Stadia, something, and they're in the game playing it. And Google is saying you can do that in less than 5 seconds. That is a killer feature. The other cool thing you can do too is when you're streaming to the platform, you can actually say, hey, I want to play this game. And they showed up how you can get in a queue to actually join that person streaming playing the game. Those are really cool and unique features that are actually going to give Google some heads up, or a leg up advantage, if you will, because YouTube is a massive platform. They talked about all the stats that were going on about how many people visit YouTube. We know that it's a very popular platform. You're watching this video on there. And candidly, this is Google's killer feature, is going to be the YouTube funnel, because basically they have all these people watching gaming content on YouTube already, and now they're going to try to shift that model from not only watching it to playing it on Google. It's not unreasonable to think that this could be how Google actually competes in this environment. Is it going to make it then the best platform to play? That we don't know until we get hands-on and compare it to other services. That we don't know. Now they are spinning up a game studio, which is going to help them get that lucrative first-party IP that Xbox get railed for so often not having. So Google is going to go down that route, but you gotta remember, it takes time to build up that asset library, because people aren't just going to jump in if there's no games to play. And that was kind of the big thing here that was missing. We have a lot of unanswered questions from Google, such as Epic is supporting the platform with Unreal Engine, but are they supporting it with Fortnite? Bethesda is launching Doom Eternal on the platform, but are they launching it everywhere else too? We don't know. We still don't know how you purchase games really for this. You can imagine probably from the Google Play Store. We don't know how you're going to pay for it. And it's launching at some point in 2019. My point here is that Google showed off a really good tech demo of its platform and attempts to hope to get developers to move to the platform and build for it. The question becomes, would you, the consumer, actually play your game there? That's harder to justify or understand at this point, because we don't know the library behind it. And the other thing too, on the publisher side, let's say you're EA and you're making another 4A, AAA title game. Why would you only put it on Google's platform, right? You're going to want to funnel people to your own store. This is the narrative that we've been not talking about enough here, is that why would EA put their game on Stadia, whatever it's called? I will get it right at some point. Why would a publisher do that though? Seriously, because if you think about it, if Google's going to do that, then they're clearly going to take a cut, right? They're going to take 5%, 10%, 20%. We don't know. We don't know enough about those details. Or would EA rather you go to Origin and buy it there where they make 100%? They need to. This is a chicken and egg thing, right? If Google has a massive user base of their platform, then EA has to put the game there. But the gamers aren't going to go there until they have a massive library of games that they can play. So there's going to be a balancing act here for Google to spin up IP that gets people onto the platform, but people aren't going to go to the platform until they have the IP. Unless it's really cheap or free or something else like that. Yes, they have a massive funnel using YouTube to get them over to that platform. But will gamers move? These are all the questions that we don't quite know yet. And I think it's a fair discussion, because when Xbox spins up their service, or Sony, they will have IP that gets people over to that platform. They already have a dedicated user base for PlayStation and Xbox. So these are the questions that we have to figure out. Is YouTube going to be enough of a lucrative carrot to get people to jump because of how easy it is? What I envision is that I could see EA and all these other companies putting demos over on the Google platform. And that way, when they do show off the trailers, they can say, hey, go play a demo of our game. And if you want to buy it, come over to our store and we'll let you download it and play it. But the demo is only going to be on Google, and then they're going to pay Google a modest fee to host all that, but they're not going to actually sell the game. That is a very more lucrative option, I think, for all parties involved, which is why I think that this platform will stay around, because again, that YouTube integration is really, really, really cool. And Google has done a good job leveraging it. Now, the question is, does it work as well as Google says? We don't know yet, but we'll hopefully learn more soon, because if it's launching in 2019, they can't keep this behind the door too long. So the big things I'm looking out for are what games are going to actually make it to the platform, and are they platform exclusive? And how is Google going to charge for this? These are the things we don't know. I think it was a good representation by Google, but there weren't enough questions answered yet to say if this is going to be a big success or another flop.